incredible writer and director of both Peanut Butter Falcon and this incredibly beautiful film, Los Frikis, Michael Schwartz. And next, a man who needs really no introduction. Everyone please give a warm welcome to Ben Stiller. And I would also like to give a special shout out. Michael, I'll let you give it.
Santiago Gonzalez, the DP is here tonight. We're going to bring it up.
That was incredible. Another round of applause. So beautiful. Kind of hard to I think when you see something that's that emotional and visceral, it's hard to just sort of talk about it right afterwards. But when I was a kid, can you hear me? Yeah. When I was a kid, I went to a screening. My mom took me to a screening of a Costa Gavras movie. Costa Gavras was a Greek filmmaker made Z, and this movie, Missing was the movie. And my mom said, "Oh, my son wants to be a director." And then he looked at me and he said, "I wish you courage." And I feel like this movie embodies that. There's the movie, and then there's the process of actually getting the movie made, getting the movie to create it. And I can't imagine how difficult it's been to make this movie. First, before you talk about that, what was it how did you learn about this? What inspired you to tell the story?
I have friends that are Cuban. They started talking about this story 7 years ago. It was before Peanut Butter Falcon had come out. Our experience with that one, Tyler and I, my writing and directing partner who's doing this in LA tonight, had never really wanted to be directors. I was an editor, I love editing. He was an actor and a writer. And Zach, the guy with Down syndrome, is the one that really brought us into the directing chair. And he said, "Will you make a movie for me?" And we really enjoyed that. We don't come in, we're not the kind of directors that have a vision for something. We were talking outside, someone said a shepherd. We're like story shepherds. And for this one, it started to feel similar, that there was a group that we hadn't necessarily seen on film before. The story I hadn't necessarily seen before or heard anything similar. And it seemed like a story worth telling. I think all of us in some ways feel like outsiders, really drawn toward outsider stories. And there's something about the choice that we all have, where it's, no matter how bad things can be, you're choosing friendship, you're choosing love, you're choosing family, regardless of the circumstances around you. And I thought this was a story that, when I first heard about it, felt like such a personification of that, where there is very little food, death is around the corner, and there's sort of the deal we sometimes make, where it's the eternity for a short amount of good time, and what would you trade for a few good years? And just captured my interest.
And there's such a feeling to me of authenticity, emotional authenticity, and just a world. How did you create that, both the script and then in making the film? And so your movies, your two movies that I've seen are both beautiful. They're beautiful stories. They're emotionally, you're so connected, and then they're also visually really special too. And there's just a combination. The performances in this movie are incredible. How did you go about writing the script and eliciting these performances and telling the story?
I think we always, I think the best thing you can do as a director is hire the right people. Mm-hmm. And Santi, we had a list of 100 DVs that we were going through, and some of them had trophies, and had won big awards. And Santi just cared. You could tell he cared. He wrote us a letter about how much he cared. His work was excellent. He'd done Beyonce music videos, but he'd never done a feature before. And
Your first feature, congrats.
First
Yeah.
feature. We approached every position like that. So we sort of had one producing team that we would make it with, or it was going to be a writing sample, and that was Lord and Miller, because Phil Lord's Cuban American. And there's a lot of very important conversation about who can tell what stories and how they're told. And when we did the Peanut Butter Falcon, we reached out to the Down syndrome community and said, do you want us to use this story, or to tell this story? Do you want us to tell it this way? Do you want us to include the R word? Like, there's certain things. I said, yes, please include all of that. You know, like, and we spoke to the Shrivers and the Global Down Syndrome Foundation, and it was a similar thing here where we went out into the Latino film community, we talked to the Black film community, the Asian film community, and sort of the universal response was, as long as you collaborate, we'd happily have you tell this story. It's, if you listen to us, if you make space for us, if you pay us, if you tell these stories that aren't being told, then we welcome that. It's if you come in and you act like you know it better than us, when we know you don't, that's when we get upset. So this story specifically was a lot of listening. Phil came on and said, hire all my cousins. So we hired literally 30 of Phil's cousins. And Paco, the actor that plays Paco, in real life is very quiet and kind of small. And he was a script consultant for 6 months. And he helped us sort of dial in all the terminology and what we were talking about, guava, not strawberries, all the super detailed specifics. And then he goes, I want to be in the movie. And we're like, totally, dude, we'll get you a line. And then he goes, I want to be Paco. And we were like, good luck, man. This guy's wolf energy. He's vicious. And we just said, do that end scene on tape. Put yourself on tape if you can do the thing where there's 4 things happening at once. And he did it just like he did it in the movie. And we said, I guess you're Paco. and he learned, he lost 30 pounds. And he learned to play guitar. He wrote some of the songs in the movie, and he just became Paco.
Wow. I mean, he's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And it's that, there was something.
And what about Gustavo?
Gustavo had never been in a movie before. We found him in Cuba, so we had somebody go around with a phone, and we were casting people with WhatsApp. And in Cuba, the megabytes, the megas are, they might just cut out, or they run out of money. So there's, we were taking audition over WhatsApp, and the guy with the curly hair just came and looked at the camera and walked off, but he had a vibe. That guy's in the movie.
Right.
And then we didn't meet anybody until we got them to the Dominican Republic. And Gustavo has since moved to the United States, like many of the actors have. And we went and showed them when we finished the edit. We rented out a theater half this size. And the Eros is walking that theater, and he goes, wow, a real movie theater. I'm like, uh-huh. He's like, I've never been in a movie theater before. So the first movie Eros ever saw was himself starring in this movie. Yeah, wild. And he goes, I've seen this.
I did the same thing for me. That's incredible. Because those are two of the most amazing performances I've seen on film. For you, Santi, what was it like making your first movie and telling this story and with these challenges?
The whole process was incredible. I think, Michael and Tyler definitely brought just a creative freedom. There was no bad ideas ever on set. So if anybody had anything to add to the story or suggest, it was always open to. And I think one of the key scenes in the movie was the wedding scene, which was not written.
Yeah, we just wrote the wedding ceremony daytime and then they're partying at night, and we stopped down and Santi lost his shit. was like, it's a sunset and we're not shooting anything? We have to shoot something. And the cast have been doing singing like that every night at dinner. That's just like the Cuban thing is you sing classic songs and hang out. So we're like, just do that, then you do it at dinner. And Santi shot it, and it's now, when we were shooting it, I knew it was special because it was so unwritten and so natural and felt so special.
And are you trying to do that throughout the shoot, of trying to find these moments?
Always trying to find, so we prep our asses off. Like all the beats for years are in there. And then when everybody knows, we make sure Santi knows, we make sure the producers know, the actors, editors are reading it. And then on the day, it's do what's written and then try and beat it. And if it's great, you use 1% of the footage you shoot, so it's great, it makes it in the movie. If it's bad, you just don't cut it in. But we're always trying to capture something special that's not written.
And even just like the sequence when they're on the raft was really beautiful. And how did you even do that scene?
I mean,
Is that day for night? Is it what time?
So, yeah, it was, well, originally it was day for day.
Yeah.
It was too dangerous to shoot it at night. We just didn't have the resources. And then I think it was the first time that I saw the film color corrected, that I saw it day for night, and I was just blown away by it. And
It's really cool. I mean, I've never seen anything that looked like that. So it didn't take you out of it, but it really had a feeling about it. And
I think for authenticity's sake, it needed to be day for night.
Yeah, it was like if you're getting on a raft to leave Cuba, you're not doing it in the middle of the day.
Right.
And then we were doing it in the real ocean. There was, in the Dominican Republic where we shot it, they have it like a 6 million gallon pool, but we couldn't afford it.
Right.
So we just went into the ocean, like a mile from the 6 million gallon pool that would be super safe. And we just put Santi on with like sandals. And he just like stood in the water and we shot it.
Wow.
But then Billy, the colorist, was able to bring it back, and then putting the buildings in the distance with the lights on is really what like finished the look.
And I mean, there's so much to talk about in the movie. I mean, I was really taken by that line that Paco says at the end. He says, death is just when you're out of doors. Death is just another door.
Yeah, it came from research. So there's like 100 articles about Los Frikis and documentaries and Dutch documentaries and Vice documentaries and podcasts, and that was a line that came from our research, and we were just like, oh my god,
It's incredible. It's so profound, and I think you really captured in the beginning of the movie, for me, just the reality of what it is to live in a state that you don't have freedom and you're not allowed to do the things you want to do, and literally to the point where you can't exist. If you can't eat, you can't do anything.
Yeah, the challenge was to set it up for, many people do know Cuban history, many people don't. So we were trying to write it for people that didn't know it and could get the essence without tasking them with too many things to remember. Because we could have spent 20 minutes on the fall of the Soviet Union and aid being cut off. And
Right.
the challenge was to do it in a way that you could just understand it through feel.
Yeah, I think it's very organic and it's very visceral because we all know, some version of that, what the reality of the Cuba-America relationship is and communism and Castro, but you just really made us feel that we were in this predicament that they were in from the beginning. And for some reason, for me, it just hit so hard because you realize, okay, there is, to be forced to have to make a choice to, inject yourself with, HIV blood.
As the best option. Like the actor that played the uncle that took them on the raft. He said, I was around in the 90s. I lost a lot of my friends on rafts. And if we're gonna be doing the scene, we need to do it with the reverence that, 80% of people that got on a raft died. That it sort of was a death sentence. And he was like, that was the thing he was super specific about, and everybody brought their story to it. And then I think Santi's camera work, and part of the reason we chose him, we wanted it to feel like a documentary and not overly a movie.
Yeah.
And Santi has sort of as a director, when you're setting up a shot and it's dolly track, you know what it's going to be. And when it's handheld, you just have to trust your cinematographer and your operator implicitly. And we knew that Santi could like chase the emotion, he could chase the scene and have shots that look cool without it being too movie.
Yeah, and you're just in it. You're in it, but it's also beautiful. And I mean, do you find that you developed a relationship with the actors? Were you operating, or did you have an?
I was a camera.
Right. So for you're operating for most of it, and as when you're handheld, which a lot of it is handheld, not all of it,
Yeah.
right?
Most of it is.
The last scene.
80%.
Yeah. But
Yeah, the last scene is intentionally locked off to feel like even
Yeah.
more austere.
yeah, the relationship that the camera operator and the actors have.
No, I mean, it was amazing. I think that we developed a language as we went along. I think, the first week or so, I don't think everybody understood what we were doing. So there were scenes where I would, pick up a glance from somebody and motivate my camera to somebody that was off screen. And later on they were like, is this what we're doing? You're just gonna whip hand to me? And I was just like, yeah, everybody has to be
You gotta be ready.
Everybody has to be ready, and it has to be acting at the same time.
These people a lot of them haven't been in a movie.
Yeah, I mean, not that they were turning it off, but yeah, most of them there was also in one scene he improvised, because we had encouraged improv. He had improvised I'm King of the World from Titanic, and then he was so upset because Titanic wasn't out yet in 1990. And he was so bummed. He's like, I just messed up the whole day. And I was like, dude, do you know how editing works? And he didn't, so we took him to the edit room. We had a hotel room that was editing, and he, like, his mind exploded. He's like, you don't just choose scenes? Like, he thought you just chose whole scenes and put them in sequence and that's the movie. But to learn that, like, oh, you have different takes and different options and you don't have to have a line in there. So they really were, like, coming in so naive, but they understood the heart of it. It was most important. And they didn't, not everybody needs to understand all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were certain scenes where, I mean, some of the actors were like, oh, you're like the hand of God, because I would be shooting a scene and then I would grab them while they were acting and just like push them into frame. I was like, this will be better. And so I was just like pushing people into frame certain times, and they were like, oh, thanks so much, that was awesome. It's like, cool.
There was a lot of silent touching because we never wanted to bust a take. So Santi was moving actors, and then he had either a backpack on with the camera,
Yeah.
and I'd constantly be pulling him back, like wider.
Yeah. Incredible. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Adam. Just a fun fact, I happened to be at the American Museum of Natural History last night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for a party, so. Yeah, my question is, like, what is the symbolism of the horse in the movie?
The horse is sort of Gustavo's alone time. For me, I do a lot of my thinking and my growing and my changing of gears when I'm alone. And then we're always looking for narrative, something that unlocks the next thing, even if it's just really small, so we don't end up with just a series of scenes. And Gustavo gaining confidence by gaining a relationship with this other animal sort of unlocks his ability to go from sort of a follower to a leader, both in the community and then in his sort of first love relationship. But it's an unlocking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I want to say something to all three of you.
Yeah.
Ben, congrats on your season 2 that's coming out. It's obviously awesome to look at. And Mr. Michael, sir, big fan of your first film. I guess my question would be, you worked with a lot of established actors in your first film, besides Zach. And then to work in this film with a lot of newer actors, I guess what was the learning curve taking from that first movie, working with people that probably, you could say minimal stuff to, and then having to speak to them in this one? I was just curious what that was.
I think that first movie, everybody was doing it for minimums. They just wanted to be there. It was sort of in service of the story. And this one, it was the same kind of thing. It was everybody wanted to be there, from Santi, whose first movie it was. Our producers are Oscar-winning producers, and their movies have made billions of dollars. So for them to take time away from Spider-Verse 2 and whatever else they're doing, it's because they cared about this movie. So it was in a lot of ways just really similar. I'm hopeful that we'll get to go make some other stuff that feels different, but also keeps like the vibe, like the parties that we'd have every weekend. Like people would just start making toasts to their favorite person, and they're having a real a moment. And it's every Saturday, just every Saturday. It was such a vibe. We were living at an all-inclusive resort, like 5 miles from the sanatorio was, and all in a building. It was mirroring. There was a lot of life imitating what the movie was doing.
In the back.
Thank you. So, I actually watched this movie on Wednesday.
Thank you.
But on Wednesday, so it's like a two-part question. I'm sorry. I'll make that. Cried so much at the end with their scene, Paco and Gus and Goose, that I actually, when he walks off into the water, right? I didn't notice that. You never see him again.
Yeah.
So I just wanted you to expand on that. Does that mean that basically he chose to take power, take matters into his own hand, and end his life right there, or is it open to interpretation?
I think it's intended to be poetic and open to interpretation. I have my thoughts of what happened, and I'll share them. I think this is sort of what Paco wishes his last day was like. I think there's a good chance he did pass on in a bed at a sanatorium, and he didn't get this final conversation, but he sort of wishes he had, and this is the way it would have gone down. I think for us, the second act, narratively, movies work with conflict, and that's the source of drama. And we had so much joy and celebration in the second act that we sort of had to crack Gustavo's lie as a bit of tension. So, Hitchcock had famously a conversation with a bomb under a table, and the audience knowing that the bomb might explode changed the level of interest in the conversation. So we were sort of if we can have the audience leaning in and wondering when Gustavo's lie is gonna come out, or wondering when the shoe's gonna drop, we can get away with more of the fun. And then getting to the end scene was there's usually a big battle at the end of a movie, you fight the big bad guy, and the big bad guy in this is HIV and the lie. And so to address those in a way that is emotional, but also funny. The Cubans always talk about gallows humor, and that, the approach to life is softened because it is so difficult always. And to find the humor in the everyday is why you keep living. So to try and wrap all of that into that scene, and the way that I think Paco would have wanted it to go.
Just the last little thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the process was 7 years.
Yeah.
How much was it worth? My family background is Dominican Republic. How long did it take to shoot it there?
It's 30 days. It's 30 days, and it was 3 weeks in the jungle area and a week in the city.
Wow. Thank you so much.
I was going to ask a question about the conversation Maria had with Gustavo at when she said that you have to be okay with things changing. Obviously a lot of change happened in the movie. Do you think that was how true for her, or do you think that's a capital T philosophical truth?
I think it's a philosophical truth. I think it's what the whole movie's about. I think it's what life is about. If you really just keep zooming out, I think that's what life is about. And I think she is the wise one in the relationship with Gustavo. I think Gustavo is young love. I remember the first time I fell in love, I was so stupid. and she is lonely. She's had her husband has left her. She's lost her brother, And I think she really did want to like reach out for a human touch. Like I think that's a very real thing. And then didn't know how Puppy Dog, Gustavo was gonna go with it. And I think I'll just spill all of it. I think she wanted to get pregnant. I think that's why she was like in the sex scene was like, come in me. And I think she's going to take care of the baby. But for the audience, I think if we're in Gustavo's point of view, the whole movie is in Gustavo's point of view. I think the not knowing, if any of you have ever been ghosted, it's like the worst feeling. And even just a text like, hey, I'm not into this anymore. Like, you're fine, you're moving on. If you just don't hear anything, it's like the most consuming, terrible feeling. And so for the audience to have a portion of what Gustavo's feeling, I also didn't want to tell the audience where she's going, so they could, like the biggest note that we get is, why didn't you tell us where Maria went? Like that's the point. Like you don't get to know because Gustavo didn't get to know.
Because that happens in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes. All right, I think we're at, first of all, congrats again. We met after you did Peanut Butter Falcon, and you had a lot of, after that movie, after which you had to get out there into the world the same way you're doing with this one, but you had a lot of people who wanted to work with you and do, fancy projects and stuff, that you guys chose to do this movie.
Yeah.
And I just commend you for being committed to making films that are about human beings and committed to getting them up on screens and not sort of, going with the flow, but making what you believe in, because that's what keeps cinema alive, and it means so much to everybody who sees the movie.
Yeah, I will make one request for you guys being here. This is opening night. We're opening in 2 cities. It's New York in this theater, and it's Burbank, California. And the way small releases like this work is if people come and see the movie in the 2 cities, it gets to go to 5 cities. People come see it in the 5 cities, it gets to go to 300 cities. And so please, post about it on social media, tell your friends. If they can come tomorrow, the sooner the better is honestly, really important. And just thank you for being here.